Hi, I'm Ross, Lifetime Natural Bodybuilder. In this video, I'm going to give you 6 pointers on how to supercharge your training. Maybe you're stuck in a rut, you've hit a plateau, haven't seen progress in some time, or you're preparing for when the gyms reopen. You want to make the most of that opportunity. Those first few weeks where your body's going to be really, really sensitive to any stimulus that you throw at it. You want to make the most of that, and you need to really start to think about how you're going to approach your training when the gyms reopen in about 4 weeks, because you don't want to waste it, because there won't be another opportunity where you can make as rapid progress as that. You'll be perhaps akin to the newbie gains, when you first started out. So you want to really prepare yourself and make the most of it, and hopefully I can help with that over the next few minutes or so. So for the first point, I'd really recommend tracking your weights that you use, or just in general the program, your performance on certain exercises. It doesn't have to be every exercise of every workout, but I definitely recommend at least one movement for each body part, and this can really make it easier to utilize progressive overload to your advantage. And as simple as it is, it's often overlooked. Just attempting to do more than you did last week, whether that be more reps, more weight, more sets, it works over time. It acts as a catalyst for an increase in muscle mass or strength. So I would definitely recommend tracking performance for certain lifts, if not all of them. And there's an argument for some lifts. You can be a little bit more flexible with them. I often am myself. I wouldn't track certain isolations. I'd have a rough idea of what I'm doing, but generally I'd be more focused on a certain few compound movements where I'd meticulously track performance. So the next point would be tracking calories. If you have never tracked calories before, there are a few apps that can make that a lot easier for you, like MyFitnessPal, where there are a number of ways to either input specific foods or calories. Very, very helpful, fairly easy to utilize. After a week or two, you would more than likely got the hang of it, and you'll be able to tell whether you're eating too much or too little, where there are errors, in terms of your macros. Generally speaking, if you're struggling to put on weight, you're not eating enough, and something like MyFitnessPal can really help, identify where you're going wrong and remind you to eat more food on a consistent basis. I do think it can be very important for both dieting but also bulking as well. If you're not really making any progress and you're struggling to eat, one of those people that say, I eat everything I can and I still can't gain weight. Well, track it and see, and then you'll find out where you're going wrong. Of course, you can also do it with pen and paper, the old school way, just whatever really, as long as you're tracking the food that you eat and you have an idea of how much you're eating on a regular basis. That's how it can be beneficial, whether it be for app or pen and paper. Extremely worthwhile, even if you just do it for a few weeks to get the gist of it, like a 3-week period, and understand where you're going wrong, and then kind of gets a bit easier, and you can maybe then move to more of a mental kind of approach where you're kind of tracking stuff mentally without wasting time jotting it down. But I definitely recommend it for a few weeks at least. Another thing that I'd think about would be to move away from the ideology of overtraining and instead replace it with the concept of under-recovery. Once you approach it from this mindset, it frees you up mentally and allows you to try out new routines where the frequency might be high, or the volume might be higher, or the intensity might be more severe, without the worry that you're doing too much. It really comes down to, are you recovering enough in between sessions to be able to deal with that intensity or volume? So I think it's a very mentally freeing concept, and I think sometimes the overtraining philosophy can really hinder people. Coming back into the gym after a layoff, post-lockdown, it's a perfect time to really try something out, where you could perhaps really, ramp up the volume over a 12-week period and test yourself, go above and beyond what you've done before. Once you understand that it really just comes down to recovery and, sleep, food, water, stress levels, the work you're doing in and around the gym session, stretching, foam rolling, icing, specific injuries that might crop up you want to get right on it straight away to make sure they don't cause any prolonged problems. That's why professional athletes would be able to handle more workload in the gym, because their recovery is better. Everything is taken care of. So if you can, apply a little bit of that to your training, then you'll be surprised with the amount that you can push your body through, and hopefully that'll provide better progress in the gym. Another point that I would make, again very simple, would be to increase the amount of food you consume on a regular basis. Often overlooked. You have to remember that food is one of the variables that we have at our disposal as a natural bodybuilder to be able to manipulate body weight and or muscle levels in the body. So don't overlook it and use it to your advantage. Even if it's at the expense of extra body fat can be lost. It's no big deal. Use the extra food as a catalyst for progressive overload to be able to lift more weight on the bar, which in turn will deliver more muscle mass over time. Fat can always be lost. So I will definitely not be eating the same amount of food as I am now once those gyms reopen. My calories will be going up massively to be able to allow me to train with more frequency, more work overall, and hopefully provide some more potential for muscle gain. Another point that I would make would be to find a really good training partner. And this is easier said than done. It's quite rare, and even if you do find a good one, it's difficult often to get the same days that you're available for training, the same times, etc. Even if you were to only arrange, 1 or 2 a week, you'd still benefit massively from that. Not only will they help mentally, but also physically. They can help with spotting on force reps, as my training partner here is doing. But it's important to communicate properly and have someone that really understands you and your body and where your weaknesses are. Otherwise, sometimes it can be, detrimental to your workout. So it's very important that they're on the same wavelength as you, and that you communicate what you want from, a training program, what you want from a particular session, and then even set, what to do when this happens. If it gets really hard here, what we're going to do, when are you going to come in with a spot. It's very, very important to communicate this. And you can even use someone in the gym that you're friendly with, you might not train with, but they can kind of jump in on a set and help with a spot. Just make sure that you communicate exactly what you're looking to achieve from that set, and don't blame them if they don't get the spot right. It's up to you to be able to communicate properly and effectively what you want from them. They might not have as much knowledge as you, but you can still benefit them if you make them understand what you want from a session or a set. So this brings me on to the last point, which is a consistent routine. Don't chop and change the routine too frequently. Give a time for the routine to play out and understand how your body responds to particular exercises, a particular rep range, the amount of work that you're doing, and then you'll get to understand how certain variables affect that particular program, what may be working, what might not be working, and you can make adjustments perhaps as you go forwards. But I would always give a program at least 4 to 6 weeks without changing it, just to make sure that I understand exactly what's happening to my body as a result of that. So that's something else I'd bear in mind. Trust in the program and let it play out its course. So thanks for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate the time spent to watch this. Hopefully you learned a few things and you can apply this to your training when the gyms reopen, or if you're already training at home. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more true natural bodybuilding videos. Also check out my website and Instagram, the links are in the description box below. I offer online coaching at very affordable prices, extremely high quality service, so check them out if you're interested. Stay strong.